today I'm here to discuss the new book, Hello, Cruel Heart by Maureen Johnson. This is a tie-in to the Cruella de Vil prequel that's coming out on Disney Plus, and I guess in theaters if we actually are able to go to theaters when the time comes around, but it's like a prequel to that prequel. So this is about Cruella as a 16-year-old teenager in London and how she kind of gets into becoming Miss Cruella de Vil. I have seen many mixed reactions to having a Cruella de Vil prequel, and I fully understand and support that because it's kind of like she kills puppies. Like, that's her whole thing. She wants to kill puppies. And I feel like when you want to make someone a villain and very easily make you realize that they're a villain, you make them hate puppies. Like, remember Knives Out? I don't want to spoil it, but like when the character that turns out being like the murderer is revealed, like before that previously there was a part where they didn't like dogs and then the dogs didn't trust them, and that was kind of the first inclination you got of like, not a nice person. So I get why people are like, why do we have a Cruella de Vil prequel? But maybe I hold out hope that maybe they're gonna redeem something and like change, you know, like maybe like this is an alternate Cruella de Vil. So anyway, this is about her as a teenager, so there is no puppy murdering in it. I'm happy to report, like, she even has a dog, which I was super surprised about. Like, she full on has a dog that she loves in this book, and I was like, okay. There's also, I feel like, if you read any of the other tie-ins to the movies, I think the last one I ever read was an Aladdin one. They're very good about like making it so basically you can read them without having to watch the movie, but then it also does not spoil anything from the movie for obvious reasons. So there is kind of this part very briefly in the beginning where we find out that her mom had previously died on the way to London with some like mysterious lady's house that they stopped at, and there were like Dalmatians at this house and something happened there where her mom got killed, and I think that's what's going to be expanded upon in the movie and stuff like that, because if you've seen the trailer, like, it's got something with like a lady with a dog and all that, so that's all you have to worry about for the movie. This in particular is focused on her just living her life in London. She is an orphan along with her two little henchmen. They're not her henchmen yet, they're like her family, but you know, they're her henchmen, and they live in just like a hollowed out, bomb out building. Like, they're just getting by. So they are pickpocketers and not thieves. She's very important to be like, we're not thieves, we steal what we need, you know, not like we don't take from like people just for the sake of taking. But some of the things I'm like, do you need this? Her dream is to be a fashion designer. She loves creating awesome costumes and outfits for everyone, and she even plays into that with the whole stealing, I don't want to say thievery, but the whole stealing thing they've got going on, because she'll make purses with like hidden pockets, and she'll make dresses that have like sleeves where you can conceal like knives and like put a bunch of like stolen goods in them without people realizing it. So her dream really is to be a fashion designer, and that's the whole reason that she and her mom had come to London in the first place, was she was previously kicked out of her last school, well, for retaliating to her bullies. She says that she's picked on because basically her hair is, as we know, black and white, like half black, half white, and that makes her stand out. Obviously, people aren't very forgiving of standing out even nowadays, so less so back in the 1960s, and she dyes it now red, like a bright red, which I'm assuming is what they're going to have Emma Stone kind of look like for a little bit in the movie, just to fit in and blend in, because I feel like, well, they kind of explain why she picked red, but I'm also like, red sticks out. You know what I mean? Like, she's like, I do it to blend in. Like, my black and white hair would stick out too much, which I'm like, full on agree. But red is also not the color I would pick if I wanted to blend in with my surroundings. But she explains that, like, red is the only one that really looks, like, good on her. So we'll let it be. But basically what happens is when she's out, she meets these two rich young socialites, and she kind of falls into their world, into this whole idea of like rich stuff and going out and wearing fancy outfits and having parties and just like the life of luxury she dreams of. She realizes she wants something more for herself than just stealing to get by. And she also happens to have a love interest in this who's in a band, which is super cool. I guess they're supposed to be like the Beatles, but like obviously not a real band, so you're kind of like, oh, okay. But it just happens that like this is the life she wants, and she really feels like it's close to her now, and she kind of starts shunning the other things like her actual friends, the two boys, and stuff like that in favor of going and doing this. But the thing is, throughout the book, which I kind of didn't like this, but I get why they did it this way because it just kind of felt juvenile. Cruella is like a not a separate aspect. Like, I don't want to make it sound like she has like voices in her head, but like she distinguishes like her personality from like Cruella's. Like Cruella's the mean one, the one that's like you're better off on your own, like don't trust people, like do mean things, be mean, like it's just the way of the world. And throughout the book she's like pushing that voice down, being like, no, Cruella, like you got us in trouble last time, like that's what happened at my school when you told me to go after these bullies and like it didn't work. So I guess in a way Cruella's just like her what's the opposite of your conscience? Like her you know when you have like the angel and the not one on your shoulder, what's the not one? Like edging you on to be like, do this, do that, like, you know, unremorseful and stuff like that. And the whole idea of this I think is really simplistic but very cool, because I think it is a good concept of like she's hanging out with these people, but insofar as that she's useful to these people. Like she starts designing costumes for them and clothes, and she really goes where they go and everything like that. And the whole idea is like, you know, who are really your friends, because these people are technically who she wants to be friends with. Like they're rich, they're in the know, they can go anywhere and spend anything, and that's like her dream as an orphan and someone that does not have a lot of money, to be able to just design clothes and go and not have to steal stuff and worry about, you know, where you're gonna sleep and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, does that mean that they really care for you, or are you just like useful to them and kind of like amusing to them, and how there's a whole difference with that. So I think the message was really cool, and I think it sets up her kind of villain origin story very well. I feel like it wasn't too overdone, like it wasn't like a like overreaction to what happened. Like I just felt like it was like a betrayal, you know, realizing that like these people that you thought were your friends aren't really who cares about you. There also was something with a love interest, obviously, because like she's not married, right? In the 101 Dalmatians, right? Yeah, she can't be. No, who would? No. So like she has a love interest, and you're like, okay, obviously that goes south. But I feel like the way that went south was a little more out of the blue than the other stuff with her friends, because her friends you could clearly see where they were just like set up to be like pompous a-holes, and you're like, okay. The love interest, I feel like there was really no hints about him other than just seeming like a good guy. So like all of a sudden this comes out and you're just like, wait, what? But I did like how, I mean, there is like a boy, but I feel like it's more of a collection of little betrayals instead of just like one giant one that kind of turns her into Cruella, which I like, because I feel like my main problem with a lot of villain origin stories, mainly Ursula, if I'm gonna put that out there, because there's a lot of Ursula villain origin stories, is that she goes like evil for a boy. Like she gets betrayed by a boy and is then like, I will curse every innocent girl that ever dares fall in love for the rest of my life because of this one asshole boy. It's like, no. Do something to the boy, and then go after boys that are assholes. Don't curse the poor innocent girls that just are falling in love. Like, I feel like that's always the way with Ursula, is it's annoying. So I was glad that, like, it was more of, like, a collective, like, there's friends, there's society, there's, like, the boy, but the boy's just, like, an addition to what's going on with everything, because it makes it, like, it just reduces it, you know? When you got this strong-ass female villain who's like terrifying, and then you find out that like the whole thing that set her on this path was her heart got broken. Okay, so okay, yeah, I'm gonna believe that. So I like that. The cover is also super pretty, guys. I really like it because I think it adds to like the whole, like her designs are very like whimsical and avant-garde and stuff that like I would never ever think to put together. Like she does dresses made out of canned beans and dresses made out of newspaper and stuff that's really gonna be, I think, cool to see in the movie version. But I feel like the cover also fits that very well, which is kind of like all this stuff that looks haphazard, but like put together is really, really cool. So I really, really like this book. I read it in literally a day. I got it at the library and then finished it later that day. It's super quick, super entertaining read, and I definitely think it is, you know, like you don't have to be interested in the movie. You can be interested in the movie. It doesn't spoil anything, and I think it's just really cool. It's a really fun read. So if you have read this book, please feel free to leave your thoughts about it down below in the comments. Also make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!